Hey, thank you guys so much for coming. Can you guys hear me? Okay, it's an awesome day to be at RizeCon. This is my first time getting to be a part of it, and it's been such an awesome experience. I cannot say enough good things about the RizeCon team. They have been incredible to work with. We've probably been terribly frustrating for them to work with because we're always pushing the deadline on when to get the slides in and all those things, but they've been amazing. Huge shout out to them for putting together an event like this. Okay, I want to tell you who this person is. I know a few of you guys, but not so many. And so a little bit about me. My name is Chynna Hansen. It is spelled like that, pronounced like China. People ask me what my name is, and then the second question is, where in the world did that come from? There's no fancy story behind it. My parents just liked the name. I'm from Salmon, Idaho, and my husband and I have lived in Idaho Falls for about 10 years now. And I am the owner, founder, and CEO of two brands. So we have Little Mama Shirt Shop, which was my basement business and is still my business today. It's kind of my baby. I started with $400 in my guest bedroom and some delusion and audacity to just believe that I could. And we scaled it into a multi-million-dollar business within 3 years. We had really explosive growth during COVID when the e-commerce kind of boom was happening. So we went from my spare bedroom to my basement to warehouse 1, 2, and 3 in a span of about 3 years. And so it was wild. It was wild times. I don't know about you guys, but as business owners, sometimes I feel like I hit my head and I woke up here. And there's 10 years in between of so much hard work. And then my second business is Vast Apparel. That's the corporate side of our business. So we have a direct-to-consumer e-commerce side, and then we have a corporate side where we're focusing on relationship building and providing custom apparel for companies, events, schools, anyone who needs bulk orders. So we have 12,000 square feet. We have two brands inside of one warehouse. They utilize all of the same equipment and the same team. Imagine how stretching it has been for my team. They thought they were hired to work with the girl gang at Little Mama Shirt Shop, and turns out we're trying to be corporate girls now, so it's been quite a journey. And you'll never catch me without a Diet Coke in my hand. Fun fact, except for this moment. I am suffering. Becca's sitting here. Hook me up. Okay, I want to talk to you. I want to tell you a story. Where do I point this? Oops. Okay. So as I was thinking about what I wanted to speak about at RizeCon, I was looking through my 117,000 photos on my iPhone. You accumulate a lot of photos when you have a business that requires so many pictures online. And that picture on the left there inspired my entire basis of my talk today. Imagine with me, we were in a warehouse the third of the size that we're in right now. It was 4,000 square feet. And I don't know, again, this is kind of the fogginess of the last few years, but I don't know whose idea it was to put my desk right in the middle of the warehouse. Like, it literally was an island. There was a packing table, my desk, that was my desk, sticky notes everywhere. I'm sure there were some crayons, some Hot Wheels cars, probably some remnants of who knows what sitting around. And I was sitting at that desk right there printing 1,000 labels. We had 1,000 orders in our queue, and I was the only one who knew how to use that software and that little piece of crap printer right there that our lives depended on. This was 4 years ago. So I was sitting there printing the labels, and I was on the phone with my doctor scheduling my induction for the next day. I was having a baby in the morning, and I was like, imagine, I think we had about 20 employees at the time, and they were flurrying around the warehouse. Like, it is every bit as chaotic as you can imagine. They were pulling shirts, pulling transfers, printing shirts, tagging shirts, packaging, and I'm over here furiously answering customer service emails and printing 1,000 labels. And in my mind, I thought, okay, I'll print 1,000. I'll keep them busy for like 3 days. I can go have this baby, be back on Monday, print labels. We won't miss a beat. And at the time, like, seemed fine. And then I did have a moment where I was like, this is insane. Like, this is not scalable, and this is not sustainable, and this is called miserable success. We're making a lot of money, and I'm printing 1,000 labels so that I can be back to work in 3 days after my baby's born. So there's the baby with the sticky notes. There's the baby with my husband figuring out an embroidery machine. Another baby. There's a lot of those in a lot of my stories. And so this is like a tender moment for me, but it's also kind of a mess moment. It was like, we have to do something about this. I really had this strong impression at that time that this is not what I want. I want to be a leader for my people. So what did I do? Did I fix it? No, I had a baby. Remember, I went and had a baby the next day. So we suffered along for another year or so. Every single person on my team was basically order fulfillment. We had no leadership, no structure, no departments. It was me and everybody who works for me. And it was hard. So I went home. I thought a lot about it. I knew I wanted to make some changes, but I also was feeling a lot of frustration. It felt like I was a victim to my business. And I was like, why can't they figure things out without me? Why do they always have to call me? Why do I have to babysit? No one understands this load that I'm carrying. And it was just me. And I realized in that moment that they actually didn't need babysat, they needed leadership. And so I kind of went on a leadership journey the last 4 years. And I do so many things wrong, but I do feel like we have it figured out. We have great retention with our employees. We have an amazing team. I can hardly talk about them without getting teary because they are incredible and they've been through a lot with me. So I made a decision to become the leader that they actually needed. I got organized, I created structure, and I elevated people into real roles that required ownership. And something amazing happened. They started making decisions. They started training each other. They started collaborating with one another. And they started on their own paths to improvement. And so this experience has made me realize that in order for your business to grow, in order to regain some level of sanity, you have to lead with vision and you have to invest in those people that are helping you make your dream come true. And so I've kind of broken down a little bit of a formula that I want to share today. First of all, how many of you guys have a team? Raise your hand if you have employees. Okay, good chunk of you. How many of you have a leadership team specifically? Okay, awesome. I had no idea what to predict on this question. It was going to take me a couple of different ways. How many of you would like to have a team or a larger team? Okay. And then how many of you struggle to let things go because you feel like you're the only one who can do them? Or it's just the classic entrepreneur question is, I'll just do it myself because it's faster, it's better, I know how to do it, it doesn't take me time to train, I'll just do it, don't worry about it. I'm guilty of that. I'm less guilty of that now. I'm a little better at now, like, you go ahead and figure that out and I'm here if you need me. And that's what's really elevated our people. It really is. So I want you to take just a second and grab your notebook or whatever you brought to write with or type with today. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I want you to think about this for your business specifically. Where are the bottlenecks in your business right now? So think of it like what only works when you're there and what breaks when you try to step away. And hopefully it's something more complicated than a printer, but I mean, I am who I am, had to learn. So what bottlenecks do you have in your business right now? Does anyone care to shout one out, or a couple of you? Yeah.
I'm an independent architect, so I do everything from getting the business to doing the designs to doing the production work. I do have a consultant drafter that I set things up to once projects are to a certain point. But there's only one of me for marketing purposes.
Yes.
I've purposely chosen not to do any active marketing other than networking events.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get a lot of word of mouth business. But if I'm sick or my daughter's sick, like she's had the last 2 days, that completely derails the
Yes.
time that I'm going to have plans on 5, 10 projects. I'm working on all at the same time.
Yeah. Anyone else have a bottleneck? Yeah.
I'm an operating partner at Chick-fil-A, and
Yeah. And that's something we have to learn ourselves too. And I think it can be hard sometimes when you're a leader to be like, do I have the problem solving skills? And then I have to refine them well enough to teach them, which is so hard. Anyone else?
HR, because I'm a control freak,
Mm-hmm.
just really, thought these guys don't know how to handle it, so I'll just handle it all the time. So they are not well versed in how to handle those people issues the way that I want it done.
Yeah. I think that's a really common one. A common bottleneck is HR issues. Okay, so there are only so many hours in a year that I can work and that you can work, right? It's like, 2,000 hours that the average full-time person works. Hopefully as entrepreneurs, we're probably putting in so much more than that right now, but the goal is to put in so much less than that at some point, right? Well, last year, our company paid out about 35,000 hours in payroll. And so the math of that is not hard. There's no version of that where I could have made that work myself. And it is what has helped our company grow, is the growth of a team. I hear all the time from young entrepreneurs, well, I'm too scared to make my first hire. I'm too scared to give up control. I'm too scared to just turn over the reins because what if they ruin my business? And that is not the case as long as you are clear about your expectations at every step of the way. So I have a couple of suggestions for you. The first one is to lead with vision. And this is one that my team, maybe they get tired of hearing me say this, I don't know. But we start every conversation with vision, especially the tense ones. And we do have some tense ones because we're making a lot of decisions in a short amount of time. We have a lot of really kind of higher level players who are rumbling. And we can sometimes get nervous to get in the same room together because are we going to have we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and get in a fight here today, or are we going to lead with vision? And every time you lead with vision, it solves every problem. Every yearly retreat, down to the monthly meetings, the weekly meetings, the one-on-ones, and the hard conversations, I always start here. So vision, the way that I would define it with your business, with anyone's business, what you're building and why it matters. So I want you guys to think about that for just a minute. More notes in your notebook. What are you building and why does it matter? Those are two simple questions that can be very difficult to answer in the complexity of the business world. Okay, keep thinking on that, what you're building and why it matters. If you cannot answer that question, how on earth would you ever expect your team to answer that question? Those two questions, they cannot. I also would challenge you with the third question is, does your team know what you're building and why it matters? And that's a yes or no question, but I would take it one step further and ask, how do you communicate it to them? Because I am very guilty of hoping that they read my mind and that they know what we're building and why it matters. And I might answer the yes or no with, yeah, they know. And if someone asks me, how do they know? Because I'm thinking about it all the time. That's not good enough. You literally have to tell them all the time. There is a statistic out there that says that you have to share your vision with your team 6 times before they feel like they've even heard it once. Because the reality is, every day at work, they are asking themselves, what is in this for me? That's not a selfish question. They are not here to only work on your vision. They are spending their lives with your company, however long of time they spend there. So it is your job as a leader to tie it together for them and make sure that they understand and that they're aligned with what you're doing. Show your team how that when the company grows, they grow. I have an exercise I want to share with you guys. I have a little handout for you. This is something that we do with our employees, and I try to take the time to do this with each of my employees, either individually or by department. This is a vision exercise. And so every single one of us, to create a whole person, are made up of 4 quadrants. As you see on the sheet, there's a little circle with some lines in it. Okay, we all have a physical, spiritual, professional, and personal quadrant. And when you're feeling a little out of whack with your life, it's oftentimes because you're spending a little too much time in one of the quadrants. I personally love to invest in my team as whole people. I know they show up and do better work for my vision when they are dialed in on all 4 of their personal quadrants. And that's why I take the time on the clock to do personal vision with them that relates to their whole life. As much as we try to separate our feelings from work and we can check a lot of things at the door, at the end of the day, we're whole people. And we are affected by what is going on at home. All of my team is moms, except for probably 3 of us. And those women have lived 5 lifetimes before they walk in the door at 8:30 in the morning. They have done school drop-off, cranky kids, made breakfast, checked off the homework, signed the permission slip, drove the carpool, planned the after-sports activities. They've lived 5 lives. There is no part of them that can just completely check all of that at the door. So I do this vision exercise with them, and I help them see and help them develop vision for their lives so that they can find their professional vision and connect it to my company's vision. And so when I'm transparent about my company's vision all the time, and I'm sharing it all the time with them, they are able to grab their professional vision from those questions and see for themselves, where do I align here? Why am I here? So lead with vision. Next one, invest in your people. I know as business owners, we always think, I don't have the budget for raises. My payroll is maxed. I get it. We're all working with one budget. It's not always a financial thing. In fact, there is a statistic out there that says that when you give an employee a raise, the most exciting time for them is the moment they hear about it. Not even when it hits their bank account a few weeks later, when they get a little bit more money. That moment is here and gone. I am all for investing in your people, of course, financially, but there are lots of other ways. And when you start with a $400 business on a shoestring budget, you have to get really creative on how you invest in your people. So money for sure, vision exercises, taking the time for a little bit of non-productive work or something that doesn't directly relate at work. We invite feedback on processes. We make time for them. We solve whatever fire is burning in the moment. We make time to zoom out and fix that process later. My people are the ones that are working in the processes. They're the ones who can fix the processes. At times, they need a little bit of oversight from me and a little bit of problem-solving skills, but ultimately, they're usually the ones who can fix it if you can teach them how to think about it. We do a lot of coaching, training, education. I've hired a business coach for a couple of my employees. I think that's probably been more meaningful to them than a raise. They're getting a lot of life skills on how to deal with things outside of work. Give them a voice. We do a yearly retreat. We have some fun traditions. We start every week with intention by going over what we're working on that week, and then we end Fridays with weekly wins. So we close the loop, and we are able to give some people a shout out for how they had an impact that week. So think about investing in your people, big and small. And as CEO, if you take the time to really hone in on ways you can invest in them, it goes a long way and it really helps with employee retention. Okay, delegate and elevate. Have you guys heard this phrase before? Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to tell you a couple of questions. You can think about them a little bit later, but I want you to write down a couple of things that you're currently holding on to that you shouldn't be, and attach some names to them. Who could own this? What would they need to succeed? And what is stopping me from letting it go? I do feel like the delegation process never ends. In fact, I tell my leadership team, I encourage them to delegate all the time, and then they'll tell me, but I don't feel less busy. I don't feel my load lightened. And that's because your capacity gets bigger, your plate gets bigger, and you get more higher level tasks on your plate. And one of those is handling delegation. Delegating in itself is a job. Okay, an org chart. We operated with an org chart without an org chart for about 5 years too long. And once we finally got one in place, everything really clicked for our team. It gave really clear chain of command, who they report to. Everyone knows where they stand on the org chart and who they report to, and they have a one-page job description. And then it's very clear. We are very clear and transparent about our pay scales. There's never really any question about what the next person next to me is in charge of or who they report to or what they might be making, some kind of range. That's been really a game changer for us. It's taken even just a big mental load off of us as owners, on my husband and I. You cannot delegate chaos. So it's up to you as owner, founder, whatever CEO role you're sitting in for your company, however you call it. It is your job to organize the chaos and then delegate it. It's about putting things into the hands of people who can actually own them. Okay, this is a big one for me. Take ownership of your leadership. There was a time in my business where I really got myself into an imposter mode, a little bit of imposter syndrome going on, where it was like, who am I? I am not qualified for this. Who put me in charge? What if they find out that I actually don't know more than them? What if they find out that I actually have no idea what I'm doing? That will be terribly embarrassing. For a long time, that cycle was holding me back from just owning my job as the leader. And when I realized that I needed to just step up and do my job just as I was expecting them to do their job, a lot of things shifted for us. Whether you feel ready or not, you are their leader. That is the job that you signed up for. I think that we sign up for jobs because we like the industry or we like the work that we're doing, and we don't think so much about the leadership side. But it truly is your job as a leader to organize the chaos and step into that role. So don't be timid. Show them what you know. Coach them, train them, help them solve problems. Even if your confidence is faking it for a little bit, sometimes you got to do that. And then you start to feel like you can step into it and really lead them. Okay, and then the last one is to get out of the way. And that's why I called my talk today this. I really feel like it is so important to not be a crutch for them or not be a vending machine for them. If they come to you and they're able to ask a question and they push a button and every time an answer comes out, they're going to keep doing that. They're human. Get out of the way. Let them do their jobs. Let them do it differently than you would do it. Let them fail a couple of times. Let them be better at their jobs than you. And then let them surprise you. And my team surprises me all the time. They do a better job at their jobs than I do at their jobs. Okay, and so if you do all of those things, the result is that you have more space, more time, and more capacity to expand your vision, which will increase in growth in your business or allow you to start another business or another venture when your team is running without you. Just as I have a couple of my team members here today, but I don't even know what is going on at my warehouse today. All I'm told is that it is the busiest week we've had this year. Nobody's crying. We're doing good. It has allowed me to expand my vision and be here today. And it is because of the work we put in. So if you want to grow your business, lead with vision every time. Invest in your people. Delegate and elevate. Teach them how to use the label printer. Do not hold on to that one. Take ownership of your leadership and get out of the way and let them do their jobs. The goal is not to build a business that depends on you, but rather to build one that grows because of the people around you. Thank you, guys.